Howdy there, Isaac here. Our titular Saiyan has come quite a long way, though that isn't always a good thing. After years of trying to deny the less favorable traits of his Saiyan nature, Raditz finally succumbed to his baser instincts when witnessing the fall of Namek. Will our Saiyan be changed forever, or overcome his darkness? Let's find out. The story starts now. On the other side of Namek, Mori was desperately trying to summon Purunga, something that admittedly saddened him. Guru wasn't able to come back due to dying of old age, which meant Mori had to step up. He had Maima and Sumudi gather the Dragon Balls, though once they felt Raditz's ki suddenly soaring, they froze. Was this one of those legends Guru always spoke about? Mori, however, yelled at everyone to finish their tasks, giving the Namekians no time to ponder this. Purunga was summoned, and Krillin was revived and brought to Namek. Krillin thanks the Namekians for their help, him now sporting a new symbol on his gi and determined look in his eyes. He bursts off towards the battlefield, with Maima attempting to follow, only for Mori to stop him once more.
"And what do you think you'd be able to do there? Raditz is doing everything he can to make sure nobody else is lost to that tyrant, including you."
You think I don't know that? We couldn't do anything before. I can't just sit back now. I have to be there at least. I have to watch this with my own eyes. Maima, Sumudi said, trying to reach out a hand towards his brother. No! You didn't work yourself half to death every day just to be toyed with by those Ginyus. Sumudi, you're not a warrior like us. With that, Maima burst off, flying right towards the battlefield. Speaking of the battlefield, once Raditz transformed, Frieza had no chance of survival. Once catching both of his punches, Raditz crushed his hands, snapping them like twigs. The Emperor screamed out in pain before being kicked across the plains and crashing into the ocean. Here, the tyrant thought he might have a brief reprieve from the Saiyan, though that hope was quickly shattered when Raditz charged under the waves and began pummeling his foe. Frieza desperately tried to use his tail to swim away, but Raditz simply grabbed him by the leg and flung him into the air, only to appear behind the Emperor and smash a fist right into the jewel on his head. Frieza was seeing stars, and Namek looked as if it were spinning. However, he never noticed the planet had a blue sun. Wait, it didn't have one. That was a beam. Frieza tried to dodge out of the way, but his concussion made this difficult, allowing Raditz's Kamehameha to connect and nearly vaporize him. The charred and smoking Frieza fell to the earth, gasping in pain whilst his Saiyan foe teleported right beside him. That was for Kakarot, for my brother. A bond that a creature like you wouldn't know about. Raditz kicked Frieza in the ribs, a crunch sounding out as the Emperor screamed out once more. The Saiyan continued to torture the tyrant, beating him over and over. He knew Kakarot could be revived, and that the Namekians were all alive once more, but that hardly quelled the flames within his heart. Raditz wanted Frieza to suffer, to feel a fraction of the pain he caused over their lifetime, the fear he struck in the Saiyans for years, and the dread of being so close to death. The Saiyan was seeing red, and even when he sensed Krillin and Maima arrive, he didn't stop beating the Emperor, who had fallen silent by now. Neither the Namekian or Earthling knew how to approach the situation, but they knew the Emperor was no longer a threat. The two were stunned for a moment, but Maima was the first to move, reaching out towards his friend and saying that they had won. We won? Kakarot's dead. Guru can't come back, and Turles got away scot-free. Go back and protect the villagers, Maima.
He's a legendary Super Saiyan. Nothing will get through to him now, you fools. Let him continue wailing on Frieza. Give him a taste of his own medicine,
Vegeta said, managing to prop himself up, enjoying the view of a desperate and damaged Frieza. Buddy, you don't need to do this. We can seal him away, for good this time. He'll rot alone for the rest of his life, and you can rest easy. Krillin pulled out a small blade, preparing to seal Frieza within it.
And what happens if that's misplaced or stolen? Kakarot told me all about King Piccolo. Earth isn't suited to deal with a threat like Frieza.
Raditz turned around, showing the warriors that he had the finishing move right in his hand. It looked like the standard Shining Friday, although the orb was rapidly growing. It kept expanding, growing larger and larger, until it dwarfed or even Raditz in size. The sheer power within this orb made Krillin and Mima slowly back away, realizing that this blast would affect the whole battlefield. However, they weren't the only ones moving, as despite his grievous injuries, Frieza was able to move and made his way towards Vegeta. Raditz turned around to see the tyrant holding Vegeta hostage, attempting to bargain for his life. This had no effect whatsoever, and Raditz simply laughed at such a feeble attempt. He smashed the orb into the two villains, its explosion expanding for miles, whilst the Super Saiyan simply watched. Once the dust settled, Mima and Krillin flew back in, finding Raditz passed out in a crater with no signs of anyone else in sight. Despite both fighters being pure of heart, they contemplated leaving him there, but when Turnip arrived carrying Goku's body, Krillin quickly jumped into action. While it seems that everything was over, Mima and Krillin can sense that there are still a few enemies left alive. Mima promises to deal with them, and Krillin solemnly nods before flying off towards Mori's. The warrior Namekian flew towards the Withering Tree of Might, where he immediately spots Ginyu and Birder hobbling off.
Do you recognize me?
Birder, the only cognizant one of the two, looked hard at Mima, but nothing registered in his mind. He was scared, and Ginyu was barely conscious. With Frieza gone, sure, Birder wanted revenge, but there was nothing he could do against those monsters. The Snake Man couldn't get another word out.
What? You're afraid? Of what? Do you think I'll kill you? Maybe ragdoll you around for a while before finally ending your pathetic life? No. I think Namek has seen enough bloodshed today.
Birder looked relieved for a second, profusely thanking the Namekian as the two parted ways. Despite this display, the two were both complete opposites on the inside. Birder was cursing the Namekian for trying to show him mercy, feeling as if it were out of pity, whilst Mima was wondering if this was really the right decision to make. He knew destroying them would be the only way to completely ensure Namek's survival. But after watching Raditz, his fighting spirit had faded. After watching what becomes of someone too entrenched in fighting, he thought perhaps Mori knew something he didn't. Mima watched Birder and Ginyu escape in some pods, before finally returning to Mori and watching them wish for Namek to be repaired, something that definitely helped improve morale. Though there was still the question of what to do now. Krillin was curious if they could revive Goku with the Namekian Dragon Balls, since they reactivate every 3 months. They agree, and Mori explains that he may be able to upgrade the Dragon Balls, since he now knows that multi-res is pretty valuable. With that, everyone on Namek wonders how Raditz will be once he's awake. Will he still be enraged? Will he be his same old self, or did that fight permanently change something within him? Well, there was only one way to find out. Krillin and Turnip prepare the ship for travel in the meantime, the Earthling wondering why she's still there and hasn't traveled back into space like the others.
I'm a Saiyan, you idiot. Going out into space with those weaklings wouldn't do me any good. Besides, with Raditz here, I could get far stronger and maybe even conquer Earth. Krillin couldn't tell if the Saiyan was joking there or not, but he chose to accept her help in preparing their craft. Bulma was off studying Namek since the planet was actually safe now. Well, aside from the giant crabs, but she could handle those just fine. In the few days it takes for Raz to wake up, she manages to befriend Dende and Eska, though not to the same degree as in the anime. Meanwhile, Krillin befriends Mima, Sumuri, and Cargo, who's now more interested in fighting than ever. Prior to Frieza's invasion, the child just thought Mima and Raz were cool, but now he wanted to become strong enough that nobody could ever hurt Namek again. Mori was hesitant to allow the boy to train, since he could feel a slight glint of darkness in him, one similar to Mima's want for revenge. But ever since Mima got back, Mori could tell something had changed in his younger sibling. The will to fight was still there, along with that turmoil, but his soul was far more calm. Aside from Nail, no one was trained as a proper warrior, but it seems Mima had come a long way. Mori allowed Cargo to train, though he prioritized both him and Mima work on calming their souls, something the older Namekian admitted he still needed to work on. As mentioned prior, Raditz finally wakes up a few days later, and much to everybody's surprise, he's his usual jovial, if a bit sarcastic, self. He admits he went overboard and that Vegeta should rightfully be revived, but in that state, he just couldn't control himself. In fact, ever since getting to Namek, he felt that way. Raditz wished Guru or Mephala were still alive, but he decides to confide in Mori, telling the elder that he had trouble keeping his Saiyan nature in check.
Oh, Raditz, your nature is your own. It's how you use it. You are simply you, whether that be what we taught you or not.
Mori put a hand on the Saiyan's back, and the two walked outside. Many of the Namekians were overjoyed at seeing him alive, though the celebrations felt somewhat hollow without those who didn't come back. Raditz wasn't sure if he felt angry at Nell or understood him. The warrior had refused to return, and whilst Raditz could never understand what he had gone through in that year, he still thought it was selfish to not return and keep the planet safe. Well, aside from how he felt, there wasn't much he could do. The Saiyan had decided to stay on Namek for the next 3 months to ensure their safety, while Turnip and Krillin wanted to travel back to Earth. Krillin felt he could help Raditz train with the techniques he learned from King Kai, though the Saiyan refused the help. However, Sumuri, feeling quite inadequate, does inquire about these techniques, which convinces Krillin to stay. Raditz spent most of his time meditating, making sense of the transformation he underwent and the memories Guru left him and Nail. There were many techniques the Namekians used to know, things they did to increase their power that no longer existed in their society today. It was strange as, with just meditation and focusing on his ki and body control, Raditz was able to become stronger. Krillin, making use of his knowledge of Kaioken, teaches Sumuri of this technique, whilst Turnip just kinda trains with Mima, though this doesn't do much for her. Once Goku and Vegeta arrived, the group fly off, them seeing Namek vanish from afar. Raditz is happy they used the Dragon Balls to stay safe, but now he kinda wished he had done the same, since Vegeta was holding the biggest grudge against him.
Oh, what's wrong? Can't you just shove that massive ball of ki into me again? I said I was sorry. What more do you want from me? Sorry doesn't cut it. You don't know what it was like in Hiffle. There were so many stuffed animals.
Wait, What? But Vegeta was too caught up in his memories to respond. Once on Earth, everyone is happy to finally shower again, and the group kinda goes their separate ways. Raditz and Goku still train every day, both of them trying to understand Super Saiyan and helping Gohan develop his fighting prowess. Vegeta trains at Capsule Corp, Turnip trains with Piccolo and Tien, though she does start spending more time with the Triclops. Bulma continues researching the Cybermen, noticing that they actually grow even more, meaning they were just sprouts at the moment. This greatly excites the scientist, who wonders just how big they'll get, or if they'll transform, or, how their whole life cycle works. One day, after taking the Cybermen out for some sun time, several small creatures land nearby, each looking similar to the Cybermen, but different. They were dark gray and green, with red beady eyes, and had a beak rather than a standard mouth. Bulma wondered if these were Cybermen that had escaped, or maybe ones that Vegeta planted, but she didn't have the chance to figure that out, as the creatures began attacking the Cybermen without restraint. Bulma screamed out as she watched her precious plants being beaten up, though it's not like they didn't put up a fight. The Cybermen had grown in not only height, but intelligence and power. In the end, though, these new creatures, the Biomen, as they called themselves, won that fight. The tallest of the Bio Warriors kicked the final Cybermen down before announcing its superiority.
Such feral creatures could never stand up to us Biomen. You there, the one known as Bulma, hand over the Dragon Radar or be destroyed.
So weak that you consider beating a Cyberman a worthy accomplishment. Pathetic.
Vegeta flew down, powering up and immediately pummeling the Bio Warriors. What they didn't know was that a second group of Biomen had already snuck into Capsule Corp and stolen the Dragon Radar. Across the world, many of our heroes get attacked by these Biomen, but after the incident, nothing comes of it. Bulma dissects what she can and finds out that they're basically Cybermen with even more enhancements, but can't figure out where they could have come from. Months go by, and eventually someone with energy very similar to Frieza travels to Earth, something that causes all the fighters to gather together, though there are several people missing. Piccolo and Tien failed to show up, and while Turnip is there, she's definitely a little bigger than she was prior, mainly around the stomach area. Raditz notices this, but when a giant supernova falls down towards the Earth, he and Goku decide to focus on the threat. The two flash into Super Saiyan, then fire off a brotherly Kamehameha, completely overpowering the sphere and sending it right back towards King Cold, completely eviscerating him. And that's when they hear slow, dramatic clapping, looking over to see a black-haired woman wearing a leather jacket and some shades. Congratulations on taking care of that loser, but you'll have to be a whole lot stronger if you want to beat the androids. The girl reached into her pocket, pulling out a lollipop before offering one to the rather confused Z-Fighters. But that is where we're going to be leaving things off for right now. If you liked this video, I'd appreciate it if you shoved a giant Shining Friday into the like button, or maybe even tried to sneak attack the subscribe button from space. But even if you don't, thanks for making it to this part of the video. You guys have a good day or night wherever you are. That's it for now. Bye bye.